What's going on, everybody? My name is JayLiebs, and today I'm joined by my friend Chris of TheRewiredSoul. How are you doing today, Chris?
I am amazing today. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing awesome.
Good.
So today, you and I have talked about this for a while. Both of us have had experiences with mental health or depression, what have you.
Hmm.
I just wanted to, get online with you and have this kind of conversation because I think we both want to push forward like this idea of kind of changing the stigma on mental health.
Hmm.
And I don't know any better way than to just have these conversations openly and publicly and just be able to, talk about this without the fear.
Yeah.
Tell the audience and anybody else about what you do on YouTube and what you do with mental health.
Yeah. So I started the Rewired Soul YouTube channel. The main reason I started it is because I follow up with a bunch of different mental health news. I research mental illness. I work in a drug and alcohol rehab because of my history with depression and anxiety and addiction.
Mhm.
And like I kept just seeing articles or even YouTubers out there, and all they did was talk about the problem. That's all they
Right.
would do. And like that only gets us so far. So like at the beginning of every one of my videos, I'd say, we talk about the problem, but we focus on the solution. Like it doesn't get us anywhere if we don't have any types of solutions. So I want to talk about these subjects, first off, like you said, to increase the awareness, make this a more normal conversation. But
Right.
I have a lot of different tools that I use that have helped me live this amazing life. And I just want to share that with others to give them hope. Like my end goal, like in my channel trailer, is my end goal, like my vision,
Mhm.
is to have people care about their mental health as much as they do their physical health. Like that, I think that should be where this world ends up. And I think we'll start to see a lot of changes when people can start doing that.
That's pretty awesome. Although part of the problem, as you probably know, and I know this from my experiences, people dealing with mental health also don't care about their physical health a lot.
Right.
And like taking care of yourself is kind of like step number one in
Hmm.
like the path to recovery and everything.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
absolutely. Like yeah, and that's a great point because yeah, like this whole thing that's like I all of this, it
all
like
this going.
yeah, it accumulated because I just stopped caring because like yeah, when you get into depression, it's like whatever,
Yeah,
Jack in the Box and like fast food, like just shove it down my face.
yeah,
Um, but like I think the other side of it, like what I want to focus on is like you can have just the most fit person on earth, right?
yeah.
Bodybuilder status or just, and they are just suffering on the inside. You know what
Right.
I mean?
No, I
Like,
know exactly what you mean.
yeah, so there's like two sides of this. Like me personally, I just recently started focusing on my physical health. I am
Mhm.
down 35 pounds. Did you notice that, Jason?
No, I
Right?
didn't because I always see you from your shoulders up.
Right. Yeah. So like I just now started focusing more on my
But
physical
I
health.
think I saw like that before photo or something that you put up
Oh
on
yeah, yeah,
Facebook that like I see it in your face a little bit. You can tell the defined facial features behind the beard.
yeah. This chiseled jaw behind my beard.
I did the same thing. Don't worry. No, but I relate to that because I was like 180 pounds like all throughout high school.
Hmm.
I was a martial artist. I had like long surfer hair, and
Where are
and
these? Wait, hold on. Where are these pictures at?
I will show you later because
Okay.
they're like in another room, and I don't want to stop the recording.
All right.
But
Deal.
uh, and then in college, in my first 2 years, like the depression hit. I was, missing classes and staying up late and like, it's a progression, right? Like it gets the
Hmm.
chips away at you a little bit more and more. But over those first 2 years, I put on 100 pounds.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I
Like 4 a.m. calzones and going out drinking with friends and stuff like that.
right. Yeah.
So
Back in high school, I was 220. I
yeah,
was about 220 and I wrestled heavyweight, which goes up to 275. So I
right.
was legit the smallest guy like in my weight class. But
Yeah,
then yeah, after that, like, and people always said that to me. They're like, after high school, you're gonna put on weight. I'm like, whatever. But that's when my depression progressed just like yours, like just
right.
going to college and then dealing with life and having to do the whole adult thing. Like
Hmm.
it was a lot easier for me in high school to put on this facade that everything was okay. And then when you
Yeah.
get out in the real world, it just progressively got worse.
Yeah, and I think it was easier in high school for me because like I was just naturally smart, humble
Mhm.
brag.
Yeah.
But but at the same time, like, so classes came easy. I got A's and B's mostly. And then
Mhm.
college came and I had developed no study skills because
Mm.
everything came so naturally to me. And I was playing catch up at the same time, being bogged down with like college work and stuff like that. So that's like one of the initial stresses. Then I was
Yeah.
putting on weight and then not working out like I used to, not eating relatively well like I used to.
Yeah. And then that makes you more depressed,
Me,
right?
it and depression, as you well know, like because you know a lot more of the science behind it, but a lot of it can be explained in like different cycles,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
spirals and cycles, like those are
Hmm.
kind of a lot of terms people use when they're talking about this stuff.
Yeah, that's why on my depression hack series over on my channel, like I like the intro to it, which I need to re-record because like I
Mhm.
had no charisma or anything because it was one of my first videos. I'm like, "Hi, this is Chris." But anyways, in that series,
Don't
it
re-record it, just leave
I
it.
know.
Just be
It's still
like,
getting a
I'm
lot of
Chris.
views, right? But like, yeah, what I talk about is these different neurotransmitters in our brain, and it's
Mhm.
about jump starting the positive ones so we
Right.
get a positive cycle going upwards rather than that negative one going downwards. But I did
Mhm.
want to throw this in there too. I just finished reading a book called The Happiness Advantage, and it's from this guy from Harvard, and he talks about how man, it was a crazy number. I think it was like over half of Harvard students are depressed. And the reason being is almost like what you said. Like Harvard accepts like the top 1 or 2% of all the people in the country. But then when you go to a
Mhm.
school where everybody's like that, somebody's got to be at the bottom,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's their depression because they were riding this high for so long and then boom. And like that's just really interesting. It popped in my head when you said that.
No, but that's true because if you change the context of the environment that you're in, you're no longer either like the top or the bottom or whatever. If you take flip side, if you take somebody who's struggling and you put them in a much more supportive, individualistic environment, they're going to get the attention that they need in order to redevelop that structure that's
Mm-hmm.
going to like, get them going again. I
Yeah.
found that when I went to group therapy, like because I had been doing regular therapy one-on-one for a while, and a lot of it just seemed like it almost seemed like writing on a Facebook wall, like you're kind of screaming into an echo chamber, you're just releasing emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But the experience of group therapy for me at one point was I felt like I got a lot more exponential growth from that because I saw people struggling with the same things, and we kind
Mm-hmm.
of were able to learn from each other
Mm-hmm.
as well as from the counselors and everybody there.
Yeah.
And I know that you run a lot of those types of sessions and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So can you speak on that for a little bit and your
Yeah,
experience
yeah,
working?
no, I love I am loving this conversation already because
Yeah.
that's so true. Like for example, like I work at a rehab and I have
Hmm.
people who complain that there's not enough one-on-one time, but they don't realize what you realized, how
Yeah.
crucial it is to be in a group setting because especially when it comes to depression,
Hmm.
the depressed mind says, you're alone, you're the only one who feels like this, you're gonna die this way, and you're gonna be miserable forever. You
Yep.
put somebody with depression in a group setting and you immediately feel a sigh of like, I'm not the only one, I'm not going crazy.
Hmm.
But the other thing is that support, that supportive
Yeah.
system. I personally grew up in a family where I was in the background a lot. My
Okay.
sister has a lot of she has a lot of mental illness just runs in my family, and she got a lot of
Okay.
that attention. So I just felt isolated and alone my whole life, and it developed later where even when I was in a group of people, I felt isolated and alone, like nobody understood. But you get a bunch of people in one room who all have the same struggle. Like, here's my philosophy. Well, it's not even mine, but I'm going to do a
Right.
video about this. Like, whether or not you believe in 12-step programs,
Right.
the philosophy that they had is probably one of my top three philosophies, which is you put one person who's struggling with something and
Hmm.
another person who is, and just something amazing happens.
Yeah.
Um, because when you talk about individual therapy, like for example, like I work with some of the most amazing therapists I've ever met in my life, but
Hmm.
a lot of clients relate to me more because I'm an addict in recovery. I'm
Right.
somebody who struggled with depression and anxiety. So like rather than having somebody who purely has, just the educational background. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
No,
So
I
even
know exactly what you mean.
or schooling, like there's just some kind of comfort, like, okay, you've been through this before. So
Mhm.
yeah, like so if you're listening, if you're watching this, like there's a ton of Facebook groups out there that you can join. Like if you don't have the resources to get to group therapy, like I highly recommend just hopping into some kind of Facebook support group for depression or whatever it is.
And just for a warning, because from my own experience, when you say that, I think that those groups online are great, but you have to, just like with your therapist, you have to kind of pick and choose and like make sure you're in the right group, because you've probably seen this too, just judging by the look on your face,
Yeah.
that a lot of these become like hive minds, where it's like a
Mm,
bunch of depressed people just like resolve to be depressed in a
yeah.
sense, and
Yeah.
you help kind of, you're not helping each other get better
Yeah.
or motivate each other or share tips and tricks that have actually
Mhm.
worked, even the
Yeah.
small incremental things. You're
Hmm.
doing a lot more of like, just spiraling downward together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I'm smiling because I was just talking to another buddy about how I'm going to make a video on that.
Yeah.
Like, personally, like what I do, and sometimes it's impossible in these Facebook groups. Like one of them I'm in has over 100,000 people, but let's make it
Hmm.
smaller in a group setting.
Okay.
I I take it on as my responsibility, if you will, to switch the tone of that group.
Okay.
When everybody starts bogging down and everybody's staying in the problem rather than the solution, I jump in there and I say, okay, look, we're struggling with this. What can we do to get out of it? Because, like you said, it
Hmm.
it it just starts spreading like this virus, and then we all start sinking down together. So it's like, all right, let's talk about the solution.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep plugging my YouTube channel. Sorry, but anyways, I did a video about how to leave.
Please do. And then afterwards, give me all the links to each of these videos that you're talking about.
Okay,
We'll put them in the description down below so people could check them out.
I will. Like, I did a video titled "How to Leave the Pity Party."
Hmm.
And one thing that I do, I set a block of time, like just for self pity, like, oh, life
Okay.
sucks, the world's terrible. I set a block of time, and then something clicks, and I say, okay, timer's up, time to
Hmm.
go focus on the solution. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
No, I do.
because we do need to feel those things,
Yeah.
but we don't solve anything by everybody just, talking about how terrible everything is. That doesn't help anybody.
No, it doesn't. My thing is that I'll put on music, like I'll go back to my Linkin Park days, or like I'll go
Mhm.
back to my emo self, like back
Yeah,
in high
yeah,
school. And I'll and I try and get moving, right? Like so either I'll do some martial arts and just like literally like punch and be frustrated and whatever.
yeah.
And you need to release that, or maybe it'll just be going to the gym nowadays, but like getting myself moving
Hmm.
and listening to music that feels the way I feel and stuff like that. Like a lot of
Hmm.
people don't understand that with me with music, like in my family and friends and
Yeah.
everything, because they're just like, why do you keep skipping the song? I'm like, I'm trying to look for something that feels like I do right now.
Right. Let me ask you this, because it's interesting, because I think about, because I used to be a little emo kid too, and you're from
Yeah.
Jersey. I was like emo
Yeah.
central back in the day,
Was
and
it? Was that why I caught the emo? I mean,
yeah,
the funny thing is that just side note, I never like dressed emo, which was
me
different.
neither. Yeah.
I kind of always dressed like this in a sense, polos or button downs. Like I was kind of
Uh,
preppy surfer looking dude, like Hollister back in high school.
yeah.
But like I grew up like in a very multicultural town. I was like a little white kid listening to hip hop and rap,
Hmm.
and then I got into the emo stuff in high school when I moved towns. And
Yeah. So
but
you
the
never
whole
had like the
time I
long
just,
black.
on the outside, I was clean cut. On the
Yeah.
inside it was a mess.
Like no long bangs, and it's like covering your face and
No,
stuff.
no, no, no.
No.
But I had the blonde hair, so like
Yeah.
that's where I guess the surfer hair came from.
Yeah. Like for me, like I only go back and listen to that music when I'm in
Yeah,
a good mood, because for me, which is interesting, because I know a lot of people who, like, for you, like, it helps
yeah.
them. For me, it pulls me back down. You know what
Oh,
I
okay.
mean? Like, almost like when you go into when you have a breakup and you start listening to all these like songs, like, oh, she cheated on me, and oh, she ruined my life. Because I did you ever listen to Alkaline Trio?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
Alkaline Trio is less like just terrible when you go through a breakup, and that's what
Oh no.
I used to purposely bring myself down even further. So like I have a whole playlist on my Spotify, but I only go to it when I'm like in a good mood and I can like sing it above my head, and then you listen to the lyrics and you're like, what am I doing? But it's interesting, like, and I'm glad we're talking about that, because anybody
Yeah.
watching this, there's two different ways, like,
Oh
and there's
yeah.
a bunch of different tools that you can use. Just find the one that helps rather than hurts.
Right. And I think the point that you were getting at before is that like as they say, sometimes you have to feel your feelings. Like a lot of times when we take drugs or drink or do whatever, that whole self-medicating thing, it's to not feel anything.
Yeah.
That's one of the key signs of depression, at least from my experience, because again, you're the one with the science background
Hmm.
on this and the certification or whatever. I'm just somebody who's experienced it, not
Yeah.
just, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. You're a
Yeah.
social worker, right? So like, um but that whole, you gotta feel your feelings, because depression, it kind of like hollows you out. It makes you not feel
Hmm.
anything. You don't, or you feel such extremes that you just want to shut down and not feel anything at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, all the things that we grab for. Like me, it happened to be alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
But a lot of us, like we were talking about at the beginning of this, we also turn to food. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I don't want to feel this, so I'm gonna load up on carbs and sugar, those things that
Mhm.
release dopamine. And I
Mhm.
don't care if it's heroin or just like a gallon of ice cream. Both these things are unhealthy. Obviously, there's
Right.
one extreme and and like a lower one, but it's the same idea. We're trying to find
Mhm.
this escape through something else. And something I try to teach on my channel and I teach to my clients is what we're talking about. Learning
Right.
to embrace and sit in these feelings. Like they're gonna pass. It's just the less exactly like the less we fight them, the sooner they pass, you know?
Mhm.
Because let's just paint this picture.
Okay.
I'm depressed. I go and stuff my face full of a bunch of unhealthy food. So after that's over, now I'm
Mhm.
still depressed about the original thing, and now I
Mhm.
feel fat and terrible. Like
Yep.
it just creates this like that
You get that
cycle of
like boggy
terribleness.
feeling from having too much salt and everything,
Yeah,
right? You're just like, oh, what did I do
yeah,
to myself? And
exactly.
again, it's like what we said before. It's one of those cycles, right? You
Hmm.
you feel bad, you do something bad for you that kind of makes you feel good in the short term,
Hmm.
and then when you're done with that, you still feel bad. So
Yeah.
like for me, one of the things that I learned like after years of therapy, and like when I finally felt like getting better after all of that, right? Like
Hmm.
you hopefully reach a breaking point where it's like, you know what, let me stop being sad.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
let me try happy for a little bit. I'll try it today. If it
Hmm.
doesn't work, I could go back to destroying myself tomorrow, right? Like there's
Yeah.
always tomorrow to go back on myself.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you feel bad, you then try and do something good, right? Like
Hmm.
you go to the gym, you scream rock music just to like get the feelings out and feel
Hmm.
stuff. You do something like that.
Yeah. One of the tips they gave me when I was first working on my depression,
Mm-hmm.
they told me this, which is like it sounds so counterintuitive. They
Okay.
said on your absolute worst days,
Mm-hmm.
call somebody and ask them how they're doing. And I was like, that is probably the craziest thing I've ever heard, but I just did it. Like I was so desperate, like you were saying, like I was like, whatever, I'll try it. And what it
Mm-hmm.
did was it helped me get out of myself. Now that I'm helping somebody else, and then that on a neurobiological level, it helps
Mm-hmm.
us feel better. It creates serotonin and stuff like, wow, now I feel good because I helped you. Because a lot of that depression is because we can't stop thinking about ourselves, how terrible
Right.
things are for us, how nothing's going to get better for us. But then I go feed some homeless people, or I call my
Right.
friend who I know is going through a rough time, or anything like that. It gets me out of here, and then I start to get out of that funk. And then you start getting
Mhm.
addicted to helping people, like not in a codependent way, but you
No.
just want to go and help them, you know?
Yeah. No, it's again, it's kind of chasing that happy, as like Zay Frank would have said back in the day, right? Like you can either like in the case before that kind of epiphany moment, you were chasing that happy with like drugs and food and whatever else.
Hmm.
But then, you kind of realize, hey, you know what? I could get my fix from helping somebody, or I can get my fix from going to the gym, or I can, whatever it takes to, at the end of the day, get your brain to produce those chemicals. You can
Hmm.
do that, and if it's not destroying you, it's like a win-win now.
Exactly. Let me ask you this. Let me ask
Okay,
you this.
ask me this.
Did you ever take antidepressant medications? If so, how did they work? Look, now me interviewing you. Like,
Yeah, that's what I told you to do from the start.
yeah,
That we would back and forth this one.
yeah.
Yeah, so I took so I was officially diagnosed with like general depression and anxiety.
Hmm.
So I took an antidepressant, and like, what do they call it? Anxiety meds, right? Specifically, I think I was eventually on Wellbutrin and Lexapro.
Oh yeah, dude, I take
Okay.
Lexapro. Cool,
Okay, yeah.
Lexapro brothers.
What? Yeah, depression fam.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, so I was on those. They were working well. I think the way I explain it to people is like, first of all, I fought it forever. I really did. I have to be completely honest with
Like resistant to taking the medications?
I did not want to go on medications. It was like, until it came like, to a point that it was like I wasn't doing well in school. My parents were like, "You're getting treatment and you're going on meds."
Yeah.
Or bye.
Yeah.
Basically, like that's kind of what it came down to.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, real quick, just insert, like, it's crazy how like they did this intervention. Usually you think of an intervention like drugs and alcohol, right?
Right.
But they gave you this ultimatum, but it ultimately led you to making a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, it also took a long time, even of that type of conversation with my family, just because I didn't want to do it. I thought it would take away my creativity. I thought it, like, I heard all these horror stories, right? Take away your creativity, sex drive, right? Because I was in my early 20s, so like that's all you care about at that time.
Right.
Hit my mic. Sorry.
Got excited there for a second.
I don't know what to do with my hands half the time. So, I thought that it would take all that away from me. I kind of liked feeling the extremes of my emotions.
Right.
Too. That was another thing. Like, I liked feeling those extremes, but like the back and forth wasn't really under my control. So and they tested me for bipolar. It wasn't that or anything. It wasn't like I just switched. It was just the mood swings of depression.
Yeah.
So eventually I went on it. I think I started with the Lexapro, and then they added in the Wellbutrin later on. And it did take away those extremes, right? But at the time I was in one-on-one therapy, and I was what's it called? Every time I'd open my mouth to talk about something, there was just so much weighing on me that I just break down and cry. And like I couldn't actually make use of therapy. And that experience, and having my therapist openly tell me like this is what the meds are for, was what got me to say, fine, I'll try it. So it kind of brought my emotions like to that middle ground area where it cuts off the extremes, but it gave me working space. That's what I think the meds were for.
Yes.
On the flip side, though, I went into them because of how stubborn I was about not going on them.
Yeah.
With the plan that when I was better, the first thing I was doing was getting off the meds.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to be a forever thing. I didn't want depression to be a forever thing. And so I put in the work in different kinds of therapy and everything that I went through in order to one day meet with my psychiatrist, because they're the ones that have to prescribe the meds.
Yeah.
And I said to them, like, this was 5 years later, just to put it into perspective, though. It wasn't like within 3 months I wasn't depressed anymore.
Exactly.
And after all that time, I was like, I want off of this. Like, at this point, it doesn't feel good anymore. And I worked at them and got off. And then they were just like, some people go through one big episode. Some people have something come back. Some people deal with this their entire lives. You know yourself by now. So if symptoms repeat themselves, come back. But if not, good job.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So Jason, we could talk for like 5 hours, and you're gonna come do a video on my channel. Maybe that's when I'll push you a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you a few follow-up questions now. You are in the hot seat, sir. So once you got on that med,
but this is my channel.
Welcome to the Rewired Soul, everybody. No.
Where'd you think you were? No, go on.
Once you got on the meds and it got you to that middle ground that you were talking about, aside from therapy, aside from group therapy, what other things did you start doing?
I did a lot of meditation because my background in martial arts. I tried going back to the gym. I could never get it to be like a consistent thing that I did, maybe for like a month at a time.
Hmm.
Some of these things are going to go into a video I might be doing for your channel too.
Yes,
Just to plug me on your channel now.
exactly. A little preview.
I'm a writer,
Hmm.
so one thing that was a good practice for me was something that I learned from this book called The Artist's Way.
Mm.
It's like a workbook for
I'm
artists.
writing that down.
Yeah, I forget the author, but I'll link to it in the description below afterwards, and I'll look it up afterwards for you.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they say in that book, and it's it's been used by like different types of artists for years,
Hmm.
um, is morning pages. It's this idea of morning
Mm.
pages. And what you do is every morning you wake up and you write in a journal at least 3 pages. And it's just stream of conscious brain dump. And I would start my days with that.
Hmm.
And by doing that, it was kind of like, because that's one of the biggest symptoms. You're just all up in your head, right? The racing thoughts, the
Hmm.
negative self-talk and everything,
Yep.
and it's even worse if you're sitting alone in your apartment and
Right.
everything. So I wrote that stuff out, and it took me a while to trust my own journal, because in my own head I was like, somebody's gonna find this and they're gonna read that weird thing that I wrote the other
Yeah.
day about that one person, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to burn this one day.
Wait, two questions. Did
Okay.
anybody ever find it, and did you ever burn it?
No and no.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I did that. I did like daily to-do lists that would be like menial tasks, right? But
Mhm.
something that you could accomplish, right?
Yes.
So those types of things were not I have to, do X, Y, and Z to build my business, because those are goals that are over like 10 years. And I was
Yeah.
working for other people back then. I didn't start my own company until I was better in my head.
Yeah.
Um, the other it was stuff like, I'm gonna go to the gym today, I'm gonna do the dishes today, I'm
Mhm.
gonna I'll get the mail when it comes, not,
Yeah.
I'll take out the trash, just the everyday type of stuff that we take for granted.
Hmm.
But having those routines down in place get
Hmm.
you going again.
Yes. Oh, okay. Oh man, this is making me so excited. I don't know how
So
much time we have. I love all of this.
we got like another 10-20 minutes,
Oh,
so
cool. Let's do
yeah,
this.
so it was the small stuff building up over
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Also through the meditation and everything, I have tons of different techniques, but just in general, I've always had a very rich inner kind of fantasy world,
Hmm.
right? Where I have a world unto myself inside myself, right? I was always like that's the creative life in a sense, right?
Hmm.
And so I remember early on in therapy, one of my first therapists told me about this book called Living with Ed.
Hmm.
And it was written by this woman who had an eating disorder, aka Ed.
Aha.
And so she she came up with the idea to personify the thing that she didn't want in her life in order to treat it like somebody she didn't want in her life.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I
So
need.
I
I wrote
so I
that
have
down.
like 20 different personas inside my head right now.
Yes.
Now they're all character fodder for books and novels and videos and
Yeah.
stories and stuff. But the way that I dealt with a lot of my issues was by personifying them.
Hmm.
Like anger is this big like beast titan of a character.
Hmm.
Like that sudden anger that comes on from all the frustration and stress and everything like that. That's just like a big monster, right?
Hmm.
The sides of myself that maybe I didn't say were like good,
Hmm.
went into another character.
Hmm.
And I would like just deal with them like I was writing a story or talking to characters and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it was
Yes.
just a weird way. Like I say it's weird because that's how you feel with this stuff, but
Yeah.
it was effective. it was effective
Exactly.
doing that and like, you know, facing myself in that way, right? Like I watched a lot of anime, so I was into all
Hmm.
that spiritual stuff, like, oh,
Yeah.
you got to face your inner hollow and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Dude, like, and that, like, everything you're saying, like, see, like, you are the, like, my perfect, like, case study and test subject because, like, you're like, what? Can you please? But, anyways, no, like, so many of the things that you just said, like, I've done videos on most of those, but,
mhm,
like, you are a living example of how that works. For example, one of my
mhm,
first depression hacks videos was about setting goals. And it's
right.
about setting these small goals that are very specific that you can
Mhm.
accomplish. Because what you're saying, like,
And small.
you and small. So just going to the gym,
Yeah.
cleaning the house, going outside,
Get the
writing.
groceries, make a
Mhm.
meal, it's just stuff like that. Yeah.
Every time you accomplish a goal, a specific goal, you get dopamine and you get serotonin. So
Hmm.
that was what was getting you out of that. And I love that. And then what you were just talking about too, I talk a lot about non-identification. See, one of the reasons people get stuck in depression is because
Hmm.
they say, I am depressed. This is me. Like, I have no problem. Like, yeah, I am
Yeah.
depressed. I'm not going to get into
I
therapy.
used to say that all the time too. It's like I
Yeah.
can't say I am depression
Yeah.
because I saw a lot of other depressed people doing that. I'm like, you're going to be depressed forever. I don't want
Yeah.
this anymore.
Yeah, as soon as you separate it from that, like, I teach it to my clients in rehab. I start off by talking about their addiction. For me, when I was able to get clean was when I was able to start looking at it and saying, okay, that is the addictive part of my brain talking. I look at it like, instead of like characters, I just look at different sections of my brain. Maybe it's
Right.
because I'm a neuroscience nerd. But when you start separating yourself from your anxiety, from your depression, then it's a lot easier to look at it and maybe have a conversation with it and just say, okay, well, thanks for that thought, but I'm just not going to listen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, realize that you are not it, but
It's
also,
like, dude, can you please stop? I need to do work.
yeah,
I don't
exactly,
need to know about my ex-girlfriend from 10 years ago right now. We can
exactly.
deal with this later.
Yeah, they're like, she's probably married and has an amazing life now. You know, like, we don't
Yeah.
need to think about that. Yeah. But like, what I was getting at when I first asked you that question too was like what you were talking
Yeah.
about with the depression meds. That's what so many people don't realize. They think
Mhm.
that depression medications are just a happy pill, but no, they're getting you
No.
to a launch pad where now you can do the work on your own.
And I
That's what they
actually and I actually had to say that to my therapist too, because I was like, I'm not happy from this. Because
are.
again, those are the expectations that this is going to be a little happy pill. This is
Yeah,
going to make me feel better. It didn't actually make me feel better to be on the meds. I'm going to be
yeah.
completely honest with that.
Hmm.
But it took away. But it gave me the space to work to feel better.
Exactly, and that's all it takes because I deal with people who struggle with depression all the time, and they
Hmm.
just like take their Wellbutrin or Lexapro or Prozac, and then they lay in bed by themselves all day. I'm like, no, now that you're up to that baseline,
Hmm.
go do something with it. You have to, like, I always think of it, and if you want to, cut a picture of a rocket ship taking off right now. But I think of it like a rocket ship with the fuel
I don't
thing.
want to.
So okay, I'll show you with my hands. Like the fuel thing, it gets you up, and then the fuel thing breaks off, and the rocket goes and does its own thing. That's
Right.
kind of the way I
The
imagine
two stages of the rocket, like
it.
one
Yeah,
gets you out of the atmosphere, and then the other one takes you all the way.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's all the medications are, and that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation. Like, I
Mhm.
hope people watch this because I'm gonna advertise the hell out of it. Like, I hope people watch this so they understand what these medications do. Like,
Yeah.
they are not an instant happy pill. I have
No,
clients come in all
they're
the time.
not. They're not even an instant like deal with those extremes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I've heard people on like the ADHD medication, like stuff like that, seems to have a quicker effect.
Well, yeah,
But it
because it's
seems
basically
like
meth.
right. But it seems to be that the anxiety and the depression meds, they set the expectation, or at least good therapists do, that it takes a month for it to like really build up in your system the right way.
Yeah, and that's why if you're watching this, see a therapist. Like, some doctors, some family, like just family practitioners, can prescribe some of these things, but they might not be able to explain it well enough
Yeah.
for you. But one thing I will touch on real quick is, like, I'm very anti Xanax. Like,
Okay.
there's a huge benzodiazepine problem, but the reason why people prescribe Xanax so much is because it's instant. It immediately affects the amygdala, turns off that fight, flight, or freeze, but it's also highly addictive. So, like, with I take Lexapro for both my anxiety and depression, and it
Mhm.
takes a while for it to work. And like, I would rather it take another 2 weeks of my misery than this instant gratification and potential addiction that can kill me. Does that kind of make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but some people, I think it's a societal issue, especially in 2017, where, I have like 2 different phones and like just instant. Like, it's hard to just say, hey, this is going to take a minute. Like,
Same
just give
phone.
it time. See, okay, how about you cut that so it looks like you have to?
No.
But
I do this so that I have to do less editing.
haha.
Yeah.
Dude, that's why I do it too, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
it makes my life easier, just one straight shot. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude. And we've talked. So everybody watching this, okay, everybody in the audience, we're keeping Jason accountable because I talk to him about this all the time. You, sir, need to write a book. That's what you need to do. That's one thing on your list.
Okay. Well, this upcoming month is NaNoWriMo. I'm going to be writing a book. I'm going to be working on it all month. And actually, thank you for giving me the opportunity to plug on my own channel. I'm going to be doing live streams.
What?
I'm going to be doing live streams so you can hang out with me while I'm writing.
Oh, why don't I? Dude, I'm about to write a new book too. You need to tell me what you're going to do so I can start doing it too.
Yeah, let's do so sign up for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month.
You're
the
going to
link
have
will be in the description below for everybody else, but it's NaNoWri, like writing mo. So it's like the mashing of that. It's every November, and you're supposed to. It's a writing challenge where you get up to like 50,000 words in a month.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this. All right.
So I've never finished it, and by finish I mean, actually pull it off. Anyway, we need to wrap this up. So tell everybody where they can find you.
So again, it is The Rewired Soul on YouTube. I have a website. You can follow me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. But I am constantly producing content to help people with mental illness, addiction, and it's also a lot for the friends and family members too, to help them understand a little bit more about what this person's going through. So come on over, hang out with me, check out my videos, and you can always get in touch with me if there's ever a topic that you want me to talk about.
All right. Once again, thank you so much for being on the show today. We can talk so much more. You'll probably be back on this so that we can do exactly that. And thank you to everybody else watching. And go check out Chris's channel on YouTube, youtube.com/TheRewiredSoul. Have a great night, Chris.
Peace. You too, man.